Everybody thinks everybody's going to win 10 games.
The Broncos, who also won 10 games last year, Bo getting to the playoffs in his rookie year. Their schedule looks like this: Cowboys, and then the Prince at home. Giants, Titans, Bengals, Packers. On the road in Houston, the Colts, Eagles, Commanders, and then the Jets. Interesting.
Yeah.
You can start here, Nick. Broncos.
So, listen, should be noted, last year, I said before the year, my favorite over of the season was the Denver Broncos. Now, I think Coach had them in the playoffs. Is that correct? Do you have Denver in the playoffs?
I don't think so.
Okay, so maybe Colin was somebody, but I didn't have them in the playoffs, but I thought they would be good last year. This is not me always being against the Broncos. My favorite under of the season is the Broncos this year. I think they're going to end up being the worst team in that division. I think that the Chargers in the second year under Harbaugh should be a good regular season team. If they make the playoffs, I think we know what to expect from Justin Herbert in that spot at this point, but that doesn't matter. You guys know I think the Raiders will be vastly improved. People think that I need to admit I was wrong about Bo Nix. I think it's going to be a glorious category 2, where it will be proven out the way people thought I was going. I needed to admit I was wrong about Mac Jones.
Well, we changed offensive coordinator.
Okay, well, I'm sure that's what it was. But the older, experienced, low-ceiling, high-floor quarterbacks that look good in year 1 don't always take that big jump in year 2. And, in fact, sometimes they go backwards because there's so much more film on them. And I don't love the weapons the Broncos have. I expect them to probably draft a running back with their first-round pick, which should help. But I think the Broncos are the worst team in this division. Yikes. And so I think the Broncos are probably 7-10, so I love the under.
It's hard for me to go against Sean Payton. You know, I think he did a great job last year. But it kind of feels like the Vikings to me. Like, everybody in that division can't be good. I don't think I'm not as high on the Raiders as you, but obviously the Chiefs, and then I'm high on the Chargers. Mm-hmm. And so I just think 9.5 feels high to me. So I'm going under, Coach, on Denver.
Yeah, this was hard because they added Dre Greenlaw and they added Hufanga, the safety, really good safety. But both these guys are coming off injury, so they had an excellent defense last year with the potential to add 2 really good players.
Benito's a great player.
But 2 impact players to add into that defense. But are they going to be impact players? Where are they coming off these injuries? That, to me, is a big question mark. I feel the same way as Nick about Bo Nix. I think there's an element of overachieving last season. Now, I like the addition of Evan Ingram. We'll see. It's not, an explosive addition, but it's a really positive addition. They'll probably go get a running back. And when you look at it, it's kind of the opposite of what we're dealing with the Texans, where that division, it's brutal. And it just got better with Pete Carroll. Yeah. And as much as Sean Payton is a good head coach and a Super Bowl winning head coach, what's there now? 2 guys that have won Super Bowls.
Yeah, and the one guy who hasn't won a college.
He won a national championship and went to a Super Bowl. So you've got the sort of the who's who of coaching staffs there. So I'm going the under here as well. Although I imagine this is going to be like the preseason darling pick.
Oh yeah,
everybody is going to love Denver to go. I saw someone say they've had a Philadelphia Eagles type offseason.
Okay, yeah, that's exciting.
Oh, man. Do I love clips like... I mean, I haven't seen this clip, but I knew it was going to be good. I knew when they were going to be talking about the Denver Broncos, they were going to set me up good. And I do love clips like this because it just gives me so much to work with. The hardest clips are to do, like, when I don't know what they're... when I agree with a lot of what's being said, because then it's just kind of like I try to add things rather than just like, yeah, I agree, and then just repeat what they said. So when they get it so wrong, it allows me to be so right. Okay, let's start from the bottom. First off, saying that they're going to be the worst in the division. First off, you have some strong confidence there in that statement. But like, even if that was true, it sounds so much worse than it is, because I do think this division is for real. Just like I thought the NFC North last year was for real, although Caleb and the Chicago Bears obviously, kind of hampered that. But like, make no mistake about it, like, this division is for real. Going up against Andy Reid and the Chiefs and Spags, brutal. Going up against Harbaugh and the Chargers, brutal. Going up now against Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly, like that is going to be tough. Like the Raiders are not going to be this easy team to beat anymore. So that is real. This division is going to be tight, is going to be tough. But the good news is for Denver Broncos fans is that they're going to be great too. So, we talk about the Chargers and the Chiefs, et cetera, et cetera. Well, good news is, the Broncos are, right in the fold right there. So I could see a lot of these teams just kind of splitting these series. And yeah, it is going to come down to stupid stuff. Again, the Broncos know firsthand. They experienced it firsthand how a win and a loss can come down to something stupid like having a block, like what was it, like a 12-yard field goal attempt, whatever the heck it was. Like you had that game won. That game is absolutely a game that you 1000% should have won. And you didn't. So, that's to me what's really, really going to come down for this win total. But if you're the Denver Broncos and you're looking at this and you have an awesome defense and your offense should take a step forward, and we're going to get to Bo Nix in a second, but, you should not be afraid of the Cowboys, the Jaguars, the Giants, the Titans. I mean, just right there, that's 4 home games. 4 home games. You're going to be afraid of Dak Prescott? No. You're going to be afraid of Trevor Lawrence and the Jags? No. You're going to be afraid of whoever's going to be the quarterback for the Giants, Russell Wilson or, whoever. Fine. Rookie quarterback and probably rookie quarterback for the Titans? No. The Bengals are going to be a fascinating matchup. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Packers. The Texans, they just went on a whole rant about how the Texans are taking a step backwards and, CJ Stroud's uncomfortable, et cetera, et cetera. That O-line looks like it's going to be a mess. Well, that seems to me that the Denver Broncos should be able to get after that. Boom. Nobody believes in the Colts at this table. Yeah, the Eagles and the Commanders should be legit. And the Jets, okay? What are we talking about here? You're afraid of Justin Fields and the New York Jets? If you are, then you know what? You don't deserve to win 5 games, okay? So, there's plenty of wins there for the Broncos. Plenty of wins there. And, yeah, let's just, be forgiving for the division and just say you split, right? You go 3-3. I think that's totally realistic and fair, potentially. Because, like I said, I do believe this division. I think it's going to come down to just some weird stuff. Did you just come up short to convert that 4th down, right? Was it just inches? And, I think what are they using now? Video footage to do it now. And they're like, oh, video footage shows, just an inch short and you don't convert it. And now, turnover on downs. It's going to come down to all this small, tiny stuff, which makes it impossible to predict. But the wins are there. Now, listen. Because Nick has them at 7 wins, which is crazy to me. But in terms of the actual 9.5 over under, I just made a similar video talking about this, about the Commanders. 9.5 is again, that number makes sense in a lot of ways because, all of the true divisional winners for the actual legit teams, the Bills, the Ravens, the Eagles, the Chiefs, they're all at 11.5. So the fact that the Broncos are right there, it's it puts them right in that range, right in that striking distance. It makes sense that you're not going to put the Broncos at 11.5, with the Bills and the Ravens and the Eagles. Those teams are obviously been established. They obviously have a high degree of consistency. So that makes perfect sense. So that's why I try not to get too lost on the actual hard numbers themselves, especially because you have to look at it in context to where everyone else is being ranked as well. And so when you see that your team's predicted to potentially win between, if you're looking at a 9.5 over under, then you look at it probably through a range of 8 to 10 or 8 to 11 games, and you see that the Eagles and the Bills and the Ravens are technically in this window, but then you're yeah. And that's why I say it's going to come down to the stupid stuff. Right? Do you actually get the field goal off and you actually make the field goal this time around? Yes or no? That's what it'll come down to. Were you beating the Raiders the whole game and then did you somehow let Geno Smith throw a 45-yard touchdown pass and then they have a 2-point conversion and win the game? It's always weird stuff like that. So but that's the benefit of a team like the Broncos being well coached. But it's also the detriment of now going up against, better coaches in this division who can also do the same and can also limit some of those absurd, why did you not call a timeout? What are you doing in this moment? Essentially how Eberflus got fired and having, the Falcons having to explain why they didn't call a timeout and little things like that. You just don't have those moments as frequently when you're playing the Chiefs, Raiders, and Chargers now because of the coaching staff, right? It is highly, highly competent regardless of the roster. So you don't get to feast on those situations. So yeah, it's definitely going to be tough, but like also like the courage of their conviction that Bo Nix is actually not a good quarterback, that he's going to take a step back. Now that they have tape, it's always the tape. The tape's going to get you. Like I just love now that they have tape on Bo Nix. Okay, guys, this whole idea of like tape and stuff like this, like if Bo Nix was such a wildly unique player in terms of like his skill set, in terms of like what he's been able to do and how he's been able to get away with things, like then I would agree. Like then you could be like, oh, now that they have some film on him, they'll be able to expose some weaknesses, etc., etc. But like Bo Nix is pretty elementary in how he plays football, and I don't mean that in a negative. I just mean like it's very like textbook. There's nothing like extra in the regard where you're just like, oh, okay, like no, like that. That's how you can kind of use like tape against like a Lamar Jackson, because it's such a unique skill set that like you can really find something potentially on film, on tape, and really kind of expose some of his weaknesses in his game, or some of the things that he needed to work on developing, and less so now, but throughout maybe his career and whatnot. But like Bo Nix is pretty prototypical in that regard. And if anything, he's bigger, stronger, faster than most people realize, especially from a mobility aspect. And like the reality is like, having extra film on him and like using his mobility, like you're not going to just now magically be able to take that away from him. I guess like you could try to come up with game plans that either take that away or encourage him to do it more if you think that helps you. But like if you take it away, like he obviously still has an arm. He's shown that. He's made some awesome plays. He's stepped up in big moments. But this whole like, classic 2 or category 2, whatever it is, classic category 2, that Bo Nix is really not that good, and he an underachiever overachieved, or whatever the phrasing was. It's just I don't understand. I mean, he overachieved with a team where like they could get like no run support at all, limited with weapons, rookie quarterback, and yet he played awesome. He played incredibly well. And when you look at his numbers, especially when you remove the first like handful of games when he was obviously learning and growing, like he was like, right around top 10 quarterback. And like, there was nothing misleading about that, because throughout that time, he still had some really awesome highs, and he also still had some lows. Like he still was, continuing to make some mistakes. And it wasn't like, oh, well, he hung 45 points and 8 touchdowns against the worst team in the NFL, and then the next game he went up against like a legit team and then got rocked. Like that's not like there was no fool's gold throughout that schedule. Of course, did he play a little bit better against the worst teams and a little bit more average against the better teams? Like sure, but like that pretty much is the case for every quarterback out there. But I mean, he stepped up in big moments. Sean Payton relied on him, which was as clear as day. Look no further than the literal Kansas City Chiefs versus Denver Broncos game, and you could see how much they relied on Bo Nix and put the ball in his hands, making him throw the ball on 3rd and 4th downs and stepping up and converting big downs. And you could see the trust and the faith in him. And so again, some of these guys that take a step back or whatever, like yeah, there's fool's gold in there. You have to really kind of look and see what you're seeing, where you're kind of like, oh man, he threw a ball that was 45 yards down the field, but it was an absolute, I got nothing, I got nowhere to go with it. I'm running around in circles and I'm just launching it up, here's a prayer. Like, like that, those things weren't why Bo Nix's numbers were what they were, or why the Broncos had the success that they had, and like I said, they didn't hang 45 points against an awful defense to only then get rocked by a great defense. Like that was not the story of Bo Nix. So to think that there's some sort of you're misled there, or that that there's going to be this like clear and obvious step back, especially because of tape, like, oh really, Sean Payton doesn't know how to manage that? Again, if Sean Payton wasn't there, if he didn't have a great offensive head coach, then that some of these things would make more sense to me. Then I could understand. But like Really? Like, Sean Payton's not going to continue to work with Bo Nix to have him improve and grow, and Sean Payton's not going to be able to adapt, even if there was something on film that now all the defenses can expose. Now everyone knows how to beat Bo Nix, and Sean Payton's just going to be like, gee golly, I don't know what to do, bud. I'm so sorry. I thought I could help you win games, but I guess I can't. You know, I'm sorry. You know, like, I just don't understand. Don't understand. But I'm happy these takes exist. I'm happy these takes exist. This is the last clip that I'm recording right now, and when I saw that they were fine doing the Broncos, I had an ear-to-ear smile because I was like, this is gonna be a good one. This is gonna be a good one. And when you're gonna give me that to work with, I know it's gonna be very easy for me to just start going and talking a million miles a second. There's some takes where I'm just like, I gotta really work. Like, I just did a Texans clip earlier, and I'm just like, there's only so much to say about the Texans, and like, what do I really have to say about the Texans right now? But it's like, the Broncos, this confidence that they're not that good. Sean Payton, I guess, is still being questioned as a head coach. Bo Nix is being questioned as a quarterback. It's like, all right. Let's see. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Denver Broncos being the worst team in the division and Bo Nix being not so good of a quarterback? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.